Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the intimate relationships, traumas and transformation all connected with having the sign of Gemini ruling the 8th house within the natal birth chart. So I recommend watching this video if you have the sign of Gemini ruling your 8th house, okay, on that cusp. Now, if you are a Gemini, meaning that your sun sign is in Gemini, this video may be for you if you have Gemini ruling your 8th house, but it also may not be for you. So the whole point of this is to go to the video that connects with that sign ruling that house. So for example, if you have the sign of Leo ruling your 8th house, go to the Leo video. Or if you have the sign of Cancer ruling your 8th house, then go to the Cancer video, so on and so forth. I will be making a video for every single sign. However, before we do get started, if you would like to know more information all about the 8th house within astrology, so really looking at your 8th house within your birth chart and also looking at your Scorpio house within your natal birth chart, as well as your Pluto sign and house, then I have created a Scorpio season/archetype ebook. So what I am going to do is I'm going to provide a link to that ebook in the description box below so that you can pick up your copy today. Alright, so with all those introductions out of the way, Gemini ruling the 8th house. Let's do this. Okay, so I am going to firstly start off by addressing your approach towards your intimate relationships, Gemini, followed by possible traumatic emotional blockages to bring to your attention. And then we're going to finish up by looking at your transformation. So really addressing how you can evolve and grow and rise up from those hypothetical phoenix ashes, all correlated with the Minerva symbol of Pluto. So right off the bat, I find this placement to be really quite interesting because if you have Gemini ruling your 8th house, then most likely than not, okay, it's not 100%, but most likely you have a Scorpio rising. So you have this Scorpio influence within your overall personality, suggesting that you are a highly intimate person yourself, suggesting that intimacy is something that just oozes out of you, or intimacy is something that you really do desire within whatever relationship you develop with someone else. There has to be loyalty, there has to be respect, there has to be integrity, you know, there has to be honesty. And so lying, cheating, going behind the other person's back, backstabbing, all these types of things you may see as just completely just not tolerated within a relationship. And those are things that you hold maybe to such a high regard that you do not appreciate it when somebody lies to you. You will be that type of person who will just cut someone off if they even think of lying to you. And so honesty and truth are really very important. Now, of course, it doesn't necessarily mean here that if you have Gemini ruling your 8th house that you're going to have a Scorpio rising, but nonetheless, with Gemini ruling that 8th house, communication, being able to communicate how you feel, opening up, being vulnerable, are really very important when it comes to intimacy and bonding with somebody else. So for example, if you notice that your intimate partner is maybe having a hard day or a hard time, maybe they're closed off, you pick up on that. And so you may ask your partner, what is wrong with you? Are you okay? What's going on? And you're going to, of course, expect your partner to be able to communicate what's happening within them. And if they don't, maybe that then sets off so many alarm bells within your own mind because you think, why are they not telling me? Why are they just shutting me out? However, this could also be from your way. This could potentially be where you then shut down maybe in times of urgency, whenever things are tough for yourself, Gemini, you don't really want to talk about what's going on inside of you either. Maybe it's much too terrifying to share. Maybe you're scared of the reaction, the response that you're going to get from your intimate partner. But likewise, maybe your intimate partner, during those times whenever they're closed off, maybe they're scared of what you're going to do, of what you're going to say, what you're going to think whenever they open up and show their vulnerabilities towards you. So suggesting here, Gemini, that communication is just very important to you when it comes to intimate relationships, to creating that real intimate bond with someone else. You appreciate whenever someone's able to be real and open up with you and just be honest. But if we were to look into this a little bit further, well, things can also be pretty complex. Because, let's say for example, an intimate partner actually manipulates you through communication. Maybe they use a play on words in order to get their way. Maybe they have said one thing to your face, but within them, it was the complete opposite. Or they've said one thing to your face, but with other people outside of the union, it was the complete opposite. Suggesting that there's maybe been some lies from intimate relationships that you've formed. Could also be that maybe you have a deep innate fear of your intimate partner getting bored of you, you know, and so maybe you try to bring more spice and a lot of fresh ideas to the table, because being bored to you is something that you cannot have, especially if your intimate partner feels bored of you, because then, well, that means or can suggest that they'll leave you, that maybe they'll find somebody else who's more interesting or more amusing. But then likewise, this could be that the intimate partner themselves feel this way towards you. Maybe they're so attracted to you to such an extent that they fear losing you. There can even be that real intensity where if they ever feel like you get bored of them, then you're gone. You're away. And maybe that creates a bit of fear in them, but then also that same fear may suggest this unreliability between the two of you. So it could sort of be this hemming and hawing, this back and forth, this I don't know, they don't know, do we know what we really want from this intimate relationship? Like, are we going to go the full way? Are we really going to commit to each other and be there for each other? Are we going to be able to manage all the joint accounts and all the things that come with, you know, really long committed relationships? Can we make it through? And so there can be a lot of questions that really stem from all of these uncertainties. But yet, I also think it's these same questions that are good, you know? So instead of maybe having fears over someone leaving or maybe someone getting bored or restless and moving on to somebody else, but to be more consciously aware of these things and then to ask those questions needed, you know, to come out and just say, hey, what do you want to do to switch things up? Do you want to maybe go here? Do you want to maybe try this thing? Do you know what, actually, I'm not being honest with you right now. I feel this way. Like, there's something going on within me. You may even have these fears of making changes within the intimate relationship. Maybe out of fear of the other person not receiving it very well or thinking certain things about you for it. But actually, it would be good for you to bring it up and to let that be known, you know? But then also, this can be a matter of, well, in terms of vulnerabilities and opening up within the 8th house, okay? This could be where you, Gemini, you're much more logical minded about it all. So for example, if your intimate partner is sharing about their dark past or what they've been through, you will filter that through more of a logical frame of thought and try to make sense of it all. And there's not really that emotional pull. There's still emotions within it, because this, after all, this is the 8th house. But you're trying to understand emotions, like very complex emotions, in a logical way. Maybe there's just certain things that aren't really, you can't really explain them very well. You can't really make sense of them in the way that you want. This could be a situation where it's just a very complex subject that it just sends your head in a, oh, it's draining. It just sends your head in a complete whirlwind, you know? Especially if it gets really, really heavy and really, really deep. Because Gemini, yes, this is the 8th house, but there may be this tendency, Gemini, if you just kind of not wanting to go there so much when it comes to vulnerabilities. You may be really good at listening. I think that you can be really good at listening, and you're going to be very supportive in that way, but actually going deep and then being able to, like, you know, help navigate that with the intimate partner, that may be a little bit more complex to do. So, you know, in that way, you know, of course, you shouldn't be expected to be your partner's therapist, right? There's only so much we can do for our partners in terms of what's really going on inside of them. So in this way, yes, it may be beneficial for you or your partner to seek guidance or communication, you know, with a psychologist, if it is, you know, correlated with really deep, intense subject matters that maybe are correlated with traumas, which we will get to the traumas in a moment in association with you. But still, it's just a logical way of approaching your intimate relationships. However, in this same regard, you can come up with some really amazing ideas to freshen things up. You know, you can bring a lot of new creative ideas into the intimate relationship, and you can maybe be very childlike, and you can bring intimacy, or you can bring a much more fresh outlook towards intimacy and bring new ideas as a way to switch it up and keep things engaging, exciting, and interesting. And so in this way, you may be this type of person who's always like keeping your intimate partner guessing. And that I also do find funny, because with the Scorpio rising, if you have a Scorpio rising, you're known for being rather mysterious. So in the intimate relationship, you may look at that and be like, oh yeah, you know, I like to keep you guessing. You never know what you're gonna expect from me. And I feel that can just bring a lot of excitement and fun into your intimate relationships. Though even speaking of fun, you may be really very playful within your intimate relationships and very witty and really very humorous, and maybe you can bring just a lot of that wit and humor to that intimate partner. And also when it comes to mental stimulation as well, may be really important. So especially when it comes to that sexual chemistry that you form with someone else, there has to be that mental connection. So, you know, this could be talking about really taboo subjects, you know, controversial subjects, and being able to communicate your truth with someone else, free of judgment, you know, just being able to challenge each other, being able to debate each other, just have those open discussions about these topics and subjects that maybe other people would not really like to discuss, but for you, you may not be afraid to go there. So to find an intimate partner who can really go there with you, who can go deep with you, may be something that you're looking for. However, this can also be used possibly as something that just completely drains you mentally, okay? And this sort of leads on to the traumas in a way, because it could be that you've experienced some sort of traumatic event in association with someone who's just tried to control and manipulate your mind, who's maybe in the past saw what you enjoy learning about, saw what intellectually excites you, and has used that as a way to make you feel bad about yourself, or has used that as in a way to control you and dominate you, overpower you. The thing about the 8th house is it can be this house of control and manipulation. It can also be this house of extreme, and it can be a house of possessiveness, and it can really correlate with all these deeper feelings of rage and envy that we can hold within us. And so we sort of may subconsciously project those things onto our partners, maybe because we haven't really looked at them within ourselves, maybe from the past and what we've been through. But I digress. For you, Gemini, maybe you've experienced certain intimate relations where you felt like your thoughts were not your own, and that is something that is just not, that's the complete opposite of what you want, you know. Maybe this has been a situation where you were forced to destroy what you sort of thought subconsciously so that this other person could overpower and then dominate your thoughts and have the upper hand. They had the greater say. Maybe you've been manipulated as well to buy certain things for a significant partner that you were with, which is it's kind of interesting too, because if you have Gemini on the 8th house, then most likely you're going to have Taurus on the 7th, and so that can suggest with Taurus on the 7th that you may be attracted to quite materialistic types of partners with that Scorpio rising going on. So suggesting that maybe you've been in relationships where there was possessiveness, there was greediness, there was a lot of hedonism, and it was just materialistic, and this person may have used intimacy, used their body, maybe used their sensuality as a way to manipulate you and control you into buying certain things for them or into getting what they wanted, all whilst they may have sort of pushed on you and tried to say that you were dumb, you were stupid, you don't know what you're talking about, you must listen to me. So these are possibilities, you know, of traumas that you could have went through. But, you know, even if we were to stem it back into earlier years of where traumas could have stemmed from, and why maybe it is that you attracted these types of people into your life, well, it could be that you've actually had traumas before in the past through communication. Maybe through feeling like you were an outcast or like you were misunderstood. Maybe in the past you've been seen as weird or as unusual or quite strange. Basically, there could have been misunderstandings over what you actually thought and what your ideas were growing up. This could just be from you feeling so disconnected from family or disconnected from your past, or this could be stemming from you thinking about the worst case scenario or worrying about what's going to happen to you, or always feeling like you're on edge, like there's always danger, or you have to be aware of what, you know, what the next thing is. And maybe you just never really felt in control of your voice, of just wanting to really speak your truth. It could have been that you grew up and it was just everyone was talking all the time, they never shut up. Or maybe you've been told that you were just too talkative and you should just shut up right now. And so in a way, perhaps you kind of learned just how to just take it back. Just be a bit more quieter. It could even possibly be that you have just been lied to so much throughout your life. And quite possibly you've just noticed how flaky people can be, how shady people can be. And so what you've sort of learned over your life, Gemini, is how to just be very selective when it comes to people. Very selective towards who you open up with. Possibly you've communicated something about yourself that's being used against you later on, but yet you've kind of learned how to be very deliberate about what you choose to share with other people and how you want to relate with other people. And and maybe you hold people to such a high degree, and so you may keep your friendship circles really small, really tight. Could also quite possibly be here, Gemini, where you have these really destructive thoughts that stick, really are hard to stop thinking about within your psyche, and you just go over it and over it and over it. Maybe it's a certain dialogue from the past or from a certain traumatic experience from your past that you find really hard to let go of. Could be an association with a sibling, could be an association with that time that you were forced to move location and relocate. Could be an association with a car accident that you've been in, you know, maybe you've had a traumatic experience when it comes to vehicles, transportation. And so maybe you suffer from PTSD, or maybe you just get into these really horrible thoughts that are just so difficult to get out of, you know. Maybe you even suffer from nightmares, you know, you have night terrors over those past traumatic experiences. So there's certain parts of your psyche, like your own mentality, that can just feel stuck and crammed in there. Could also be over comments that some people or kids said to you from the past, you know, really mean, cruel kids, you know, bullying, for example, who picked on you for how you talked or for how you learned, or maybe there was something about you like a speech impediment, or you just had a different way of learning to other people, and that was poked at and probed at and seen as weird and stupid, and just all of these things in association with your communication, you know. Maybe those classmates that you had, those peers, were just really freaking mean. And maybe you still have thoughts about them. Maybe it could even be that there's been cruel classmates that you have seen be horrible to your own siblings, and you feel like this vengeance, like, oh, I'm gonna get them back. And so you may still hold on to a lot of those extreme thoughts, but at the same time, there's a lot of empathy here, because you also then can pick up whenever someone is being genuine with you, when they're being genuine with what they're sharing with you. You can pick up on whenever someone's trying to manipulate you, trying to control you. Now, like I said, you may have been manipulated and controlled in the past by certain intimate partners through other ways. But coming out of that, you may then be able to identify later on, oh, I know exactly what that is. I know exactly what that person is doing, what they're up to. So you learn a lot from these experiences from the past. You may also learn a lot from those traumas connected with the past in association with your communication. This actually leads us on to the transformation. And this transformation involves the art, so the mastering of talking, communicating, being able to open up with someone else, being vulnerable, but also asking the right questions, you know. So for example, before getting into an intimate relationship, not being afraid to ask questions, you know, being more inquisitive, curious about that person. What is it about them? Like, what have they been throughout their lives? Or what is it about them? And do you really want to be with this person? You have to ask yourself that. Or are you going to get yourself later on down the line and then be like, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? So being okay with asking questions and just being really inquisitive. So on that note, furthering on from this, getting to know your partner deeply. Yes, you may like to keep it more light and superficial and just kind of, you know, chit-chatty and fun, which it can be, which can be really exciting, like I said. But it's also about getting to know them, trying to really understand, like, who are they and what have they experienced, and what is that bond that you're both looking to seek and get together. What do you want to build together, really? And are they going to be able to come together in a union with you in a way that is very stable and secure, and bringing in fresh ideas into the bedroom? Because Really, when it comes to sexual intimacy, Gemini, you can be super creative and you can be really good with your hands. And you can also be very good at just coming up with just new fun sex positions, things to try with your partner, and that can bring a really exciting connection with somebody else. Also paying attention then to this whole saying one thing and doing another. So being aware of the intimate partner's ability to talk the talk but not walk the walk, but then also possibly your tendency to do that as well, and also just looking at the energy exchange overall. So who is being genuine, who's being honest, who's being truthful, and is it that you can pick up on mannerisms, body language, strange things that that person is doing that do not align very well with, you know, what you actually want from a relationship or an intimate relationship specifically. Also looking at the whole two-faced tendency here, because this two-faced energy may come into play within your intimate relationships, where maybe you see one side of your intimate partner in a certain light, but then whenever they're around other people or whenever you're behind closed doors, it's a different side to them. Because it could even possibly be that you've been in intimate relationships where you notice this switch, this character change. The last thing when it comes to the transformation process, well, when it comes to these feelings of jealousy, envy, rage, lust, all these really deeper feelings, instead of keeping them a secret, instead of keeping them private and locked away, to instead be able to communicate. Maybe if you're feeling that particular emotion, so for example jealousy, you're feeling that, rather than letting it sit within you and like boiling up within you, and then you get all suspicious and then you start investigating and you start hacking into people's phones and then you start asking questions and it's an interrogation, pulling it back, being able just to open up about it and just communicate, okay, in a healthy way, so that you can really have a much more healthy bond with your intimate partner. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video on the intimate relationships, traumas and transformation, all connected with having the sign of Gemini ruling the 8th house within the natal birth chart. Now if you do happen to have Gemini ruling your 8th house, then I would like to know your thoughts and opinions on today's video in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and of course if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then go right ahead and click that subscribe button. And I will be back with another video very, very soon.